Greetings. The Adrian Dominican Sisters welcome you to a presentation of a sister story. I am Sister Peg O'Flynn, and I am going to be interviewing or having a conversation today with our Sister Janice Brown. And Janice Brown is coming to us from Detroit, Michigan. There have been other stories where we've been all over the United States, so this is right in our backyard. So let us begin. Welcome, Janice, to a sister story. So the floor is yours, or the camera is yours. So if you just want to begin where you began, where your upbringing was, and just kind of let things flow, and I'll interject on occasion.
Okay.
If I want to know something else.
Okay.
Or if I think we might want to know something else. All right. So it's all yours.
Thank you, Peg. Well, I was raised not far from Adrian, a little village called Deerfield, Michigan.
Right.
And my mom and dad were originally from Ottoville and Leipzig, Ohio. I think some of our sisters were from that area as well. And they moved to Deerfield when they got married. I had 6 sisters and 2 brothers. We were a party among ourselves.
Oh, I love it.
But actually, Deerfield was a pretty small, and still is a pretty small community, so you knew everyone. And it was so fun to live in a place where there was no fear of walking to the other side of town. You played outside till the lights went on the street lights went on. And of course, I had the normal conflicts with my siblings, but we really got along and still do today very well.
That's what brother and sisters are for.
That's right. Yeah, so you stay humble, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yes, they play that role yet today. They do.
Oh, I love it. It's good.
Yeah. Well, some of the fun things we did, though, we had this big station wagon to fit all of us in. And my dad would take us to see our grandparents probably once a month. Seemed like not very often, but maybe it was more than I realized. And a funny story is one time he's pulling out of the back alley to get us going, and apparently not abiding to the speed limit. And sure enough, there was a police officer. And he stops him and walks up and looks at this car loaded with kids. And he said, "Sir, you have a lot of responsibilities there. I just want to bring this to your attention, and so you would be aware of your speed limit and how you're driving."
Very good. Very good.
But we had a good time. And right out of high school, I went to Siena College at the time.
Okay.
I did.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting that I started in social work, but I had a job in the bank in Deerfield. And being a youngster, I did get married at a very young age. And when that marriage didn't work out, I had to really look at what I was able to do. And since I had this job at a bank, I ended up going into business. And I got my bachelor's degree while raising my daughter. Actually, I ended up getting back into college, and Siena was very flexible with me to do this. So I worked it around working a full-time job and raising my daughter to complete my bachelor's degree in business at Siena. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And so
were there many sisters? Were there many sisters there at that time?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That remembered me a little better than I remembered them. Or remembered me a little better than I wished they would have.
So it's part of that fun family dynamic, huh?
Yeah. That's right. But yeah, so that was the beginning. And so I ended up being in banking for 25 years. It was a long time. That was my career. And I worked in different places for the same company, actually. I was responsible for a branch office in Dundee. I moved to Kalamazoo, where I was responsible for our correspondent relationships. And what that meant is our backroom operations moved money around, not only for the bank itself, but for our trust department. So at the highlight, I was responsible for the transfer of about $1 billion in a day.
Oh, my word.
So that was really very interesting. And, you know, during that whole time, I'm raising this daughter of mine who, you know, goes through all those struggles of growing up.
What's her name, Janice?
Oh, Kathy. Her
Kathy,
name is
okay.
Kathy. Yes, Kathy. So, anyways, so while we were there, she ended up graduating from Kalamazoo and going into nursing. She studied her and got her LPN while I was studying getting my MBA at Western Michigan University.
Okay.
So that was a fun time because I ended up having a niece that moved in with me too, who was going to Western Michigan. And so we were all, you know, a bunch of women going to college. And anyways, that was a special time in my life.
Very nice.
Yeah. And, you know, when Kathy got old enough, she had a job in Grand Rapids, and it just seemed like something more I was being called, and I desired something more in my life. I had been invited to look at the associate program with the Adrian Dominicans when I moved into Kalamazoo. So 10 years probably had passed. And it just seemed a very strong pull.
Who invited you? Who invited you? An Adrian Dominican?
Yes, Mary Margaret Rogenbuck.
Oh, yes.
Do you know her? You remember her?
Yes, yeah. Yes, very much, yeah.
She was the DRE at St. Alphonsus when I was still in Deerfield. And so when I moved, she said, we should stay connected. Why don't you check out the associate program?
Very good.
Yeah. And, you know, it took me a while. Life was busy. And about 10 years later, I thought I'm going to do it. And, you know, I had the brochure and I checked it out. I had everything I needed to get started. And so I was an associate for 5 years. My mentor through the associate program was Pat Stringer. Pat, you know what? We're gonna have to delete this. I'm not remembering the name.
I know who you mean. I know exactly who you mean. I can't think of her last name either. But Spangler.
Spangler, yeah.
Pat Spangler.
So my mentor was Pat Spangler, and then when Kathy moved out of the house, it just seemed like, you know, I was ready for some adventure, and it seemed to be the call was stronger. And Nancy Murray was in vocations at that time, and we had some discussions, and she came to Kalamazoo one time, and we talked about it with Kathy as well, because this would be a change for her and her relationship with me. In a way it would be different. And so it seemed as though everything was pointing to making a change. I put in my application. I got a phone call from a realtor saying, do you know anyone in your condominium complex that would be looking to sell their condo?
Oh.
And I said, yeah, I might, but I won't be ready until, I won't know for sure until May. That's when they would let me know if I would be accepted. And he said, okay, we'll wait. And so sure enough. If that
wasn't the Holy Spirit, I don't know what was.
I know. You know, it was. And so it ended up being the realtor was someone I had gone through the MBA program with.
Oh my.
And he was just so accommodating, gave me the price I had asked for. And I said, I can't leave until the middle of August. He said, that's okay. We can work it out. It's just, you are so right. Everything was pointing to, I at least had to check it out. And I did. That first year was an amazing year as a candidate, and getting to be taught by Nadine Foley on the Constitution, and And then being able to work with Carol Costin and Elise Garcia down at Sister Farm when they were in Texas. All these experiences it was like the face of God that I have never experienced or seen before. It was just amazing. And so I asked if I could enter then, and I started my novitiate.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And that was in St. Louis, which was very contemplative. That was different
for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you entered a contemplative order. Very good. Mm-hmm.
And I thought I would study after that, but Ellen Burkhart was my novice director, and she gave me a call in April of that year and said, would you ever consider working at the Literacy Center in Detroit? And I said, well, that's what I'm here for. Yeah, I want to be asked to work in ministry. That was perfect. So I started at Dominican Literacy Center, and that is such a life-changing experience to work and walk with people that were so different from me, so different from my background.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I really had a passion for adult literacy because, my daughter had gone through a lot of chemo treatments, which made her learning experience a real challenge. And so with that, I was very passionate about people getting chances to live up to their potential.
And that was a wonderful literacy center, which was the whole literacy development began with Sister Marie Damien. I think she wasn't there. Was she gone?
Yes, she's the one I replaced.
Yes. And that woman was remarkable. So it's nice that another remarkable woman stepped in.
You're kind. But anyways, being able to be in ministry like that, but it opened up a whole new world of adult education. I ended up being involved in groups on a citywide level and a state level and doing some presentations nationally. It just really expanded who I was, but it seemed like everything I had done in the business world was applied to what I was doing here at the Literacy Center.
Just to go back a second, I don't want to keep belaboring your daughter, but that you were very touched by that whole experience. How did she adjust to your new role in the congregation? How old was she when you joined?
She was 24, I believe.
Okay.
So she was a little older, but it was It was different for us. I was very close to her because of all we had gone through with her health and so on.
Is she doing all right now?
She's doing well now, thanks.
Great,
yeah, super
great.
Well. She has 2 beautiful daughters, grandchildren.
Right, I knew there was one. I didn't realize there was a second one. Right, very good.
Anyways, yeah, she's doing well. Yep.
So you have to keep that role up too amidst your ministry. Are those kids, those 2 little ones?
Oh my gosh! They keep me plugged in, right? They keep me.
That's right. That's right.
Plugged in. They are so full of energy and so creative. Yeah. And then I have a step grandson who is in music.
Okay.
And he lives close by as well. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I am very blessed with that. And of course, I have a son-in-law that is, I'd have to say, is amazing. A good father, good son-in-law.
That's great. And they still live close enough. Well, I don't know, during the pandemic, if that's close enough, a couple hours?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. What a blessing. So anyway, so she was older and all right with it. And it's not everyone that can say my mother's a nun.
She got a lot of mileage out of that. Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, go on with your story. So then you went to the Literacy Center, and that is a very wonderful experience for any of us that has engaged in our literacy centers.
Yeah, yes. and got involved in different things on a congregational level as well. But in 2017, I should probably mention this. I also, while I was in ministry at Dominican Literacy Center, I went to the seminary and did get my MAPS degree. I felt like, people think I know all these things. I need to update my theology. And
can you say what MAPS means for the people that don't know?
Yeah. Sure, I'm sorry. Master of Arts in Pastoral Studies.
Got it, okay.
MAPS, yes.
Okay.
And that's part of me that's the study piece, so Dominican, right? And so a part of who I am. I've always loved studying. And in 2017, I asked and was approved for full-time study, the first time in my life. And I went to, by the way, thank you very much for supporting me, you and all the other sisters, as I did this. And went to CTU in Chicago and studied practical theology. I got my doctorate in ministry with a focus on witnessing. And what that really was, it's applicable to evangelization. And my thesis was on women religious and their legacy. So as we are transitioning into a different reality as women religious, I did interviews with 7 different congregations, 30 women, on what it meant to them during this transition and how they see their Christian values moving into the future. Just outstanding. Oh my gosh, a great experience for me, and just the wisdom in that was a gift I will never forget and always be grateful for. But then, after I finished, I was able to complete that in a couple years. I was tapped to work at this position in Detroit again. So I ended up coming back to Detroit, working more at networking in adult education and workforce development. And that nonprofit didn't weather the pandemic well. So in the meantime, I was also asked to come back to one of our literacy centers here in Detroit. So right now, my ministry is at Sienna Literacy Center.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah, so that's a quick trip down memory lane.
That's right. That's right. So what's your favorite scripture saying? I'm sure you've called upon it many times with the experiences in your life. Or do you have one?
I do. And it really has risen for me, particularly during times of working at Dominican. It started there. And that is the scripture where Jesus feeds the multitudes, starting out just with some bread and fish. And it just strikes me that when it seems like we have so little, we actually have an abundance.
Right.
And that's been so significant to me, not only in the ministry. It was at a time that it surfaced when we had so many people needing our services, and we really didn't have many resources, but it worked out. I mean, it's like we just went one step at a time, and we ended up getting the support we needed. But I look at that in my life as well, when during the pandemic, when it seemed like things were hopeless or things were very destitute, people are good.
I know.
People are so good, and there is an abundance wherever we turn. We just have to see it.
Yes, there is so much goodness out there. It's just nice to hear you speak of it, because we can focus so much on what should have been, could have been, but exactly. What is significant. Take time to look about you.
Right.
See the goodness of God. So where do you think your future is? Or are you happy where you are? I mean,
one of the questions you gave me, Peg, to think about was, how do you see the Spirit working?
Mm-hmm.
And and in my history, I can see
Right.
where God led me to different places. And earlier in the fall, just one sister called and asked, would you consider being on the docket for the executive committee for Dominican Sisters Conference? And I said yes. And sure enough, I was elected.
And what does that mean?
Well, it means that I'm involved in the Dominican order at a level that is pulling the order together and creating situations that will keep our vision, our values moving forward. One element of that is futuring.
Right.
The sisters, there's a group of younger sisters who are collaborating and trying to get together in a way that will take us into the future. Again, for the mission and for the gospel values that, carrying them forward so that really Jesus's legacy goes on.
Interesting.
And so I'm in there that, and earlier Pat Seaman invited a group of us to be a committee to work with the Adrian's younger group, and I became involved in that, and it ended up going to one meeting, and now we've met probably a half a dozen times, and it's all of our sisters, even those in the Philippines and the Dominican Republic. And so there seems to be something here that's that the Spirit is guiding me to anyways, and I find a lot of energy and passion in doing this work. So I'm loving Sienna Literacy Center, and that comes very natural, but I feel like I'm being stretched in this other way that is really quite life-giving. So I'm excited to see where this God of surprises is going to take us, take me.
And you've been many places or involved in much, and the resilience seems to be very evident. And I get a sense that I think some of that was early development in that happy family where we just enjoyed ourselves. We were a family. I love that vision, that image. We were a family. We were a party. I think you said we were.
That's what I said. We were a party just among ourselves.
Yeah, that's unique. Is there one? You probably have many, but is there one experience in your life where you really learned something about yourself that you could share with us that you think would be unusual?
Well, I don't know if it's unusual.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of different steps during this journey where I got to know myself better and was much more resilient. And part of it, like even when my daughter became so ill, it was the year my husband left us. I had this daughter that had a life-threatening illness, and it was I didn't think I could do it, but I did. Again, that abundance, everything I needed was there to carry on. And I've got to admit, life is full. I mean, all of that hardship back then. Now I have 3 grandchildren, a daughter, and I still have that big family. I think there must be 60 of us in our immediate family. Now
so
with
you
all
haven't been able to get together during this pandemic. There's too many.
That's right. You're right. I know. Yeah, that's forbidden right now.
Yeah.
Can't wait till we can do that again.
Yeah, but it's also been interesting how we have been able to respond instead of reacting with what's been placed in front of us.
Yes.
And the goodness we see of people on the outside. I mean, oh my goodness, what people have been going through. So is there anything else that you would like to share that we didn't have time to talk about? Because we'll probably do part 2 at another time. Just kidding. We have a few hundred more to do of these, yeah.
Just the other question about the pandemic and how that's influenced me. I am an introvert, so I have appreciated the time of slowing down that being locked down caused. And there's 3 of us that live in community here. And how we pulled together and were the support to one another was an amazing gift. And that has been something from this pandemic. That and the contemplative piece that has been so emphasized has really been a gift. And it's a transition now as we start lightening up, and I'm going out for ministry, and transition is a change. I hope we don't lose that. Exactly. I really want to keep that.
Take time. So it's Nancy, Ann, and Jenny, right? And
that's right.
Yeah.
And we do have a Dominican volunteer with us right now as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I've been meaning to get over to that estate over there where yeah, I'm a Detroiter. Okay, well, listen, I just want to say, as I said, you do have a unique story. So as a member of the congregation, I want to thank you for adding to our history department. This is what we're trying to do, a history project of getting our women to share their ministerial, and they've all been different because we're all different.
Yes.
So, but you came to us with a background, a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, many things. And you have enriched us by your presence and by your spirit very much. And much is going to be asked of you, and you seem to respond well through contemplation and prayer. So anyway, thank you for sharing your story and deepening our relationship with you. So bless you as you continue on and wherever you seem to be called.
Thanks, Peg.
Thank you very much.